all right. Welcome to the Reading Sound. Hey, just so you know, there is a noise ducker on this, so when we're talking, it is coming through with like our audio above the track right now.
Okay.
And now the track's loud again.
Wait, can you hear the song?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't?
No, it's super loud, yeah.
Oh yeah, this song's super loud, but the ducker is playing like in the stream, but it's not playing in our ears, so the song is super loud.
Yeah. Okay.
It's crazy loud. I'm gonna kick it down a bit. I just kind of wanted this song to shine through for a bit because it's your newest single.
Sounds good.
Which is sick. All right, quick welcome to the Reading Sound. What's funny is this stream is starting later than usual, and because we ran basically the entire stream, and I forgot to hit go live. But what I did do was prep it up to go live, so I was seeing messages in the chat, but they were like, hey, but I think they were more like, hey, when does the stream start? Because the stream was supposed to premiere at 4:30 or whatever. So shout out to Casey, who's kind of agreed to hang out and jump back into it and kind of start fresh, because I think it's important. I kind of wanted to give you guys the first impression, like, hey, Casey, thanks for coming to the stream, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. It's sick that you're here. I've been seeing you around town, not just primarily through theater, but as I've got to know you, I've seen your Hauntless apparel brand, and I've also, seen you putting out music as Well Played. And then talking to you before we started the stream, I didn't even know this, but you were in a band prior to this.
I was, yeah.
And what was that group, dude?
Okay, so prior to Well Played, I was in a band called Lonely Avenue, and I did that for about 10 years or so.
Oh, shit. That's like a long time.
It was a long time, yeah. And I did theater prior to that, but obviously when the music thing started to kind of take off, I didn't really have time to do that anymore. So it's been nice, like, recently being able to get back into theater and rediscovering the love for that and, that sort of thing.
Yeah, bro. Theater's huge in my life. It is so funny having already talked prior, because we've been talking theater, and I most recently was in The Elephant Man. You just wrapped up Anything Goes. And theater's just crazy, man, because there's so many evolutions to it. Having just gotten back into theater, your first production was over at Shasta College.
It was,
and You Can't Take It With You.
Yep. And I will say, like, when I originally moved out here to the Reading area, I didn't know anyone at all. And I think a big the thing that really kind of pushed me into wanting to get back into theater was the fact that I knew I would meet so many people that are really like-minded. And it was just super cool, like, getting back into it and meeting all these amazing people just kind of right off the bat, and it just kind of like threw me back into things and reminded me what it's all about, which we didn't actually get to touch on too much. So
new topic. Which is
it does feel awkward, like, re-saying all these things.
I know I'm trying to like bring up things, but like we went deeply into just about everything we brought up, and we also talked about not digging into the snafu, which I just can't seem to help myself from doing. I will say, though, it brings up the importance of being present in what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? And I can appreciate it for that reason, because even though that conversation is kind of lost to the ether, so to speak, I feel like you and I had a really good conversation, and like and obviously I think there's a lot more to you than I realized, and sure, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm still really appreciative of the conversation, even though it's super like weird to like have to like rehash and talk about everything we talked about.
I guess if we avoid rehashing, there is a scenario here where we address it, we provide a quick summary, and then we like move on to the present together. And we just kind of reflect on that really briefly, so we can catch people up to speed to kind of where we're at.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So we talked about Well Played and how you produced the 3 singles that are out. We talked about how you are working on new tracks with Jesse Lawson. We talked about the members of your band and how you've met them and how you guys came to be, which is something I would actually love to hear more about eventually. We also talked about how you're playing Hush Hush, not Hush Hush, but just like you're kind of in a group with Jesse Lawson.
Yeah, I'm playing guitar for his solo project, which is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to seeing like where he takes that and where he goes with it. I can tell it's like very much a passion project for him. And yeah, I'm just there to support him, you know?
Yeah.
And we just did a video shoot for that a couple weeks ago, and I'm really excited to see the first cut.
Yeah, and we also talked about passion projects as a whole and how Well Played is a passion project. And we also talked about your business, Hauntless Apparel, which you don't usually bring up, but it is your business.
And I think, and this is something I would like to talk about, is how I've been having this kind of overwhelming sense like I really need to fit in lately for some reason. Like, obviously I've met so many wonderful people being out here in Reading that I'm truly inspired by, and it's giving me a different perspective, and I feel like I'm changing a lot with it. But it's also coming with this feeling of needing to fit in, you know? And it's just, I don't. You know? And I'm trying to like self-reflect a lot. Like, why am I feeling like I need this? You know? And it's kind of like fuck that, man. Like, I'm here and I'm bringing my own like movement with me. And it's sort of like you're either along for it or you're not. And I think people should rest in that. You know,
I think that's a really good way to approach it. That's kind of how I feel with this show as a whole is, yeah, you're along or you're not. Maybe you'll pass through. I have had that. I struggle with that. What if I'm doing this poorly? What if these designs that I've curated to like make this feel like something real, like there's bound to be graphic designers out there doing it better, or audio engineers making it sound crisper. There's like so many ways where I'm worried that I'm not going to fit in the community of podcasters or musicians or actors. And I think I compensate by just like trying really hard, but then I also do the exact opposite, which is trying to like chill out. And fitting in is hard. Fitting in is really hard, but I've noticed that, I don't know, putting yourself in environments where you have like-minded people that are, you know, encourage you, and also just finding that self-worth within you to kind of reinforce the idea that you are worth it and you are an artist. Yeah. That's why I think making an art piece is cool. Like this one with the flower and the rainbows, and it's on a piece of cardboard. I don't usually look at it, but I'm looking at it now, and I think I made something that was kind of cool, and it was quick, and it reminds me that I can do it. And hey, maybe this conversation is the next cool thing that I make, that we make, that I get to make, for the sheer sake of collaboration from you being here. So
absolutely.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for letting me ramble. I think I always wanted a platform where I could just talk into a microphone and ramble.
Absolutely.
And I hope that I'm rambling in an additive way. And not,
that's all we can hope for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess we covered, you know, talking about not bringing up my business to people. Right. Yeah. And it kind of ties in with that whole theme of wanting to fit in with others, because my business is not for everyone. My clothing brand is not for everybody. As you put it earlier, bold.
I said bold with like a big slash through it or something. I don't know.
The designs are very bold. And it's something that I started when I was much younger. I was probably maybe like 20, 21 when I started the business, and I just happened to get incredibly lucky early on, and it just happened to kind of take off, and now it pays the bills, and now I'm like forced to kind of nurture this thing to continue being able to do all the things I do, which is why even though I'm feeling like my purpose is being called elsewhere, I do have a great appreciation for it, because it's allowing me to explore all these other avenues, you know. Like, it lets me do theater, it lets me do music, it lets me pursue all these fantastic things that are calling to me.
Yeah, I think that's what a good job feels like. That's kind of how I feel about my work, although it's not a brand that I've curated. It's like a non-profit that I help to continue to sustain. You know, I jumped into a pre-existing thing instead of, you know, creating an art piece and building a business off of that, which I think is admirable. That's one of the things that I really appreciate about you. That's one of the things that's like drawn me to you, is I'm like, this guy figured it out somehow in some capacity. And you know, obviously with your brand, you're still moving towards other things. And I also think that's admirable because, I don't know, like I took a lot of pride in my recent performance of The Elephant Man, but I've known from doing theater from a few years that when the show closes, it closes.
It closes.
Unless it's a Rocky Horror that comes back next year and you
Yeah.
just literally do the time warp again. But Elephant Man, I put so much into that I knew I had to keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I'm going to start a podcast. And now we're here talking about continuing to do other things. There was one project of yours that we talked about
Oh yeah,
prior to the snafu.
the snafu. A great one it was.
And this is one that I feel like even skimming over the songs as much as I did in that quick reflection, you're working on a musical, dude.
I am. Yeah, and that's kind of brings me to not knowing if I should take on another project or get into some sort of regular rehearsal routine doing something, because I kind of just want to jump into this thing head first, you know? And I've got probably 10 to 12 songs that are all just sort of like, some more finished than others, you know? But I feel like the music is my sort of strong point. So I'm like telling this story through this music. I have, you know, a pretty solid outline at this point. And something I actually didn't mention earlier was that I've got some incredibly talented people helping me put this thing together so far. And I don't know like how, if I can talk about too much. I don't know if they want, if they're ready for me to like talk about it yet, you know, but I'm so appreciative of that. And it's really, it feels like it's coming together, you know, with every song that comes down. It just feels like it's really gonna happen. It's really gonna happen, you know, and it's a good feeling.
I think that's something that I've learned just by living here. I grew up in a small town, and it kind of took me a while to, I feel like, shed my ego enough where I could exist around people that were just cool and really freaking talented and just like appreciate. And not just resign that appreciation to celebrities or whoever usually draws attention, just to like apply it to like humanity. And ever since I've been able to just apply that appreciation, and I've realized how many cool people there are doing cool artsy things that just exist, like you, like all the other guests that have been on here and all the other people that'll show up, just like cool people, you especially though. I just realized the importance. I started opening vinyl sleeves and seeing the long list of names of people that worked on like an album or something. And it just sort of clicked, like, oh, like great teams are making great, you know, products that are changing the world, like great pieces of art. And so now I have a spreadsheet for my album with a list of all the names of the people doing the various jobs that I want working on, you know, my project and stuff like that, which I didn't talk about that. That's something I don't talk about. You don't talk about your work. I don't talk about my album that I just see and feel, that's living in my brain. But I know what it takes to make it happen. So when I hear that you have a bunch of people working with you that are talented on your musical, it just makes me even happier because I feel like that's what's required.
Yeah, and I also want to stress like the importance of knowing your strengths and knowing where maybe you don't have, you're not as honed in. And what I mean is where know when it's okay to bring in like another creative force. And I know there, especially when you first start practicing this sort of thing, it can be kind of tough on the ego to like relinquish some control.
Yeah.
But like, and like I was saying, I am writing these songs, and they are very punky. They're very me, you know what I mean? And which is not as traditional in theater. And I think there's a lack of shows that have like the more like punk rock vibe or whatever, or whatever the Casey vibe, I guess. But
Yeah.
but I am working with an extremely talented producer that is doing like orchestral versions of these songs, and it's giving that sort of almost classical musical feeling to it that you would kind of come to expect from a musical.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's really cool seeing how they contrast, and I'm going to start even incorporating some of the orchestral stuff into the punk songs, and and it's all going to come together. So I'm really excited.
That sounds brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
it sounds intuitive.
Yeah, but what I knew, I was like, I can see the story, like I can see the whole thing in my head, but I haven't done too much script writing, just a little bit, and so I knew I wanted to get someone in to help write the script, and I have some extremely talented friends that are kind of helping me with ideas on structure and plot twist and all these things, and it's just been I'm just feeling really grateful because I can just see it all happening, and I know where to relinquish the control. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's been a really important part of the process, is knowing where to give up the control.
Yeah, and I noticed, like, even going to Boston recording with Jacob Akana Band, there was moments where we're in the room, and I just felt like, my place right here is just to be in the room. It's just it's just to be here. Yeah. And then, and just relinquishing control to the people that we're tracking in that moment and being like, yeah, man, I'm in the room. I'm just vibing. I'll be here as part of the energy. And then the time comes, and then it's your turn to lend that flavor. In your case, it seems really cool because you are writing the songs, and then that orchestration is going to complement it. So I feel like it's going to probably retain a lot of that Casey flavor, whatever that is.
Yeah,
that makes me, because I love the flavor. I love the songs. I love the well played songs coming out. And on the last prior to the snafu, I'll mention another thing we talked about. We pulled up a music video.
Yes. And
I think it's actually worth pulling up again because there was something really cool that I noticed when I was doing my bit of research on you. And well played. There's a music video for Peace that came out, and your record label, We Are Triumphant. Mm-hmm. And what I really wanted to point out was the comments. And when I was looking at them last time, they're just so good. Saw this ad while I was listening to Knuckle Puck. Now I'm here. Well played indeed. You got a new fan for sure. Powerful song. Definitely a banger. Nice song. Great sound. So well played. YouTube ads cooked with this one. I think what I remember mentioning last time was there's a lot of different advertisements that pop up, and it's really hard to a lot of people are advertising to try and get their feet off the ground. Mm-hmm. But when you advertise and you have a quality song and product and video, these people that got drawn in that had no clue who you were, they loved it, man.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty remarkable to have an overall positive response to something that gets
thrown in your face.
Yeah, thrown in your face.
Yeah.
Because I do a lot of advertising, and I know how important it is. Because people's responses change immediately. People have an initial response when they see the product, and then everybody clicks on the comments, and depending on the flow of the comments, then every comment you see, with each additional comment, your initial perception changes. So that general group consensus is so important in establishing a community, because that's any new person is also going to get positive reinforcement when they look at that.
Yeah, and it's been kind of different for me on this project, because I actually haven't read a lot of the comments. I know I probably should be, but it just goes to show that this really truly is a passion project for me, and I'm not doing it because I'm not exactly gung-ho with it, just because I'm doing it as an outlet, and I have a lot of things I'd like to get out, and that's the mindset I've gone in with this project. I remember back in the lonely days, I would hang on a lot of those comments, and a lot of them were pretty nasty, man. Like, and I used to be more heavy set, and I would just get a lot of hate comments, you know, about my weight or about this or about that. And I think that kind of thing does like have an overall effect, and how thinking about how people perceive you, it's so strange, you know, because you're there for the art and then they're just commenting about how you look, you know. And so with this, it's just been like, I have this thing I want to say. It's not exactly easy to bite into, I guess, content wise, message wise, and but it's all part of the healing process, you know?
I guess the comments are more cool because you have your own personal experience with that. You toured for a while. You were in a band. You did the real deal.
Did the thing.
You did the thing. And but for me, as like a new fan who's just getting to like know you, and it's been a pleasure sitting in this room with you for a while, is listening to your music. I hadn't clicked on this video or even seen it. I was already kind of becoming a fan, and I was a fan. And then I kind of got that positive validation when I saw other people that seemed to respond the same way that I felt. Like, oh, this is like, has like a true, this evokes emotion and stuff. And the video is really cool. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. Worth a watch. And the person that shot that video is also shooting
the project I'm doing with Jesse.
Yeah. What's his name again?
Chase Smith. Yeah, he is gonna be my new go-to guy for visuals out here. That's for sure. He did incredible work.
Sweet. Chase Smith. Love it, dude. This is the part of the stream where I kick back and relax. Oh, hey, I got you a gift. Remember?
No, dude, I don't remember. You got me a gift? We're actors, bro. We gotta like play this off.
Oh yeah. Be right back. Hey, bro. I have something I want to mention, and I actually got you a gift.
No, see, like, I was gonna get you a gift, and I was like running around my house scrambling, trying to find something meaningful because I didn't want to just throw something together.
Dude,
you know,
don't worry about it. You want to know why? Because your presence is honestly the gift to me.
Right.
You being in the room, that is the true gift. And it's because I value your time, man. And, you know, you came here. You're the present. I got you one. And I get everybody a gift, man. So, like, don't worry about it.
Okay. I definitely owe you one, though.
Don't worry about it. All right. So it's actually right back here. And the story behind this is, knew I wanted to get you a present, and I swung by Cascade Curations today after getting off work and prior to the stream beginning, and I was flipping through their records, and the curator, the owner of the shop, said, "What are you looking for?" And I said, "I am having a guest on the show tonight, and he plays in like a punk band, and do you have anything of that vein?" And he said, "I have the perfect thing for you." He pointed to the top of the shelf, and it was a record by Vulture Feather called Liminal Fields. And he said, "These guys are a post-pre-future punk band from Hayfork, California, which is in Trinity County, which is where I grew up." And he said they're playing at the Dip tomorrow night. And he's like, "I just got their record." He cut me a deal on it. And it's a local band of a similar genre that I found today that's playing at the Dip tomorrow, and it seemed too good to be true. So I had to get it for you.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Yeah, and I know it's probably like not the same thing, but I'm like a huge nerd over like liminal space. And I don't know what like the songs are gonna be about or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely excited to give it a spin.
What's liminal space? That's actually a new term to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Bro, I don't even know how to like explain it to you.
Fair enough. I did listen to the record, so I think I got the gist. I definitely have the sounds. I opened it and listened to it before I gave it. I had to know what you were getting yourself
right.
into.
No, it's only I get that.
It's it's different. It's definitely different than what you put out, but it's cool. It's cool for sure.
No, I listen to so much stuff. Like I think I was listening to like old country before I got here, so it's
nice.
yeah. Like I listen to such a wide range of music.
Yeah, me too. I think just like also trying to doing the Reading sound, I feel slightly it wasn't obligated. It was like something I wanted to do. Is just find out what bands are in Reading and put them all in a playlist and find my favorite song from each of them and like listen to the people. So when I see them around, I can like, at least have a starting point.
Yeah, and I do want to say I feel like there's a lot of underrated talent in the Reading area.
A bunch, if you ask me, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like the more people I meet, I'm just like, you're doing all this. It's insane to me. But yes, dude, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And like I said, I have a record player, and I think there's just something wrong with the piece that plays the
Oh yeah, like
the little tip piece,
the needle thing.
Yeah, because like all the records sound like fuzzy, but I think I just need to get it replaced. I'm not like a record player connoisseur or anything.
Yeah, it's probably just a quick is it the needle?
Yes, the needle.
Yeah, it's the quick needle replacement. I don't know like if they're like universal. I think that's actually probably like a really important part of it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but hopefully like if you have the brand or something, track that baby down and get those things spinning.
Heck yeah.
I love records because I feel like this is kind of my woo. I love just like watching the record spin, and it feels like you're like watching time pass in such like a weird circular.
Well, and there's something like
motion.
I used to kind of collect records a little bit. I had a lot of like Nat King Cole.
Oh yeah.
Sinatra records, like the old timey stuff, and I would love just putting them on like when I was cooking or something, and it's just like something about like that old quality that just it's the vibe, man.
It's the vibe, and it's also cool to do it with like because even the new stuff very quickly becomes old. Like once it's pressed, like it's just how old is old to you, like history goes on forever. You can have old at any point. Sometimes
That's true.
Old to me is like yesterday. I miss Zach Zeller. I can't wait to see that guy again. It feels like so long ago.
I get that.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm like trying to remember all the things that we covered because we covered so much.
Me too. And this is why I wanted to do the quick recap to begin with, right? Is so we could get back to the present, but we didn't recap all of it. We missed stuff.
We did miss stuff. We had a really good conversation about theater and memorization and what that process looks like.
Yeah, we did.
There was some important stuff in there, I feel
like. And I know I talked a lot about like comparing my first straight show, The 39 Steps, and like coming in with a fully developed character only to have my director be like, hey man, like I need you to like act and react with the person on stage, not like just, do what you did at home. And then bringing that all the way forward to like The Elephant Man and incorporating a Lisa Collins approach of memorize your words, and like your blocking and stuff, but don't develop any sort of like real character until you get to rehearsal. And then you mentioned
it's tough to do,
and you mentioned
really hard to do.
Like a really great practice to start doing that, which is
the single best line of advice I ever got pursuing acting was to listen. Like, and it seems so simple, but it kind of turned me on my head a little bit. Like really listening to what your partner is saying to you and giving to you, and just trusting that those lines are subconscious and they're gonna come.
I just thought of like what my favorite part of acting is, because I started incorporating listening like a while ago, like a few shows ago, like really and like the play that goes wrong, I did a lot of listening because I didn't have a lot of time on the stage too. But once you start listening, but you also are letting your character experience the organic emotions that come with listening, your character might very well stop listening and they'll just become a voice chattering in your ear while you're experiencing your emotion, and then like eventually they'll draw you back in and you'll have developed what you're going to say, or maybe your response is generated from what they say, and it's kind of contingent on how the script is written. But there's so many discoveries to be made once you just stop thinking about what you're supposed to say, because your lines are locked and loaded.
Yeah.
And you just go up there and you let what happened before you determine what happens next by observing it and listening and reacting.
Yeah.
It was a lot of words to say the same exact thing.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah. And there's the comparison of, like I said, I took like a long break from acting to do the rock band thing, you know, and when I got back into it, I just happened to get a lead role in a play called You Can't Take It With You. And even though it was a lead role, it was more because the story centers around that character, but I was not the biggest presence on the stage whatsoever. And I was actually finding it really hard to develop a character because it's not like there was like this huge arc for him or anything like that. There wasn't a lot that I felt to hook onto to like make an intricate character, you know? So that was really interesting going from that to getting this role. I played this character, Robert Lambert, in a play called Boeing Boeing, directed by Brenna Yeary. Shout out to Brenna Yeary. She's incredibly talented.
Shout out Brenna.
Yeah,
Shout
she's
out Brenna.
amazing. That was so crazy because I went from like, you know, doing the roles prior to that, which was just on stage for like 2 hours, hundreds of lines, like
huge.
I was scared shitless, honestly. And yeah, and it just made I finally had a character that I could really dive into, formulate a character, and you know, really take him through this story, you know. And so being able to put the whole listening, having trust in yourself, and knowing that your subconscious is going to have your back was so important, because there was no time to think. It was just the whole time, and it's like your consciousness almost has to take a backseat a little bit.
Yeah.
And you just have to be there in the moment, in the present, like feeling it, and you know.
For my theater nerds out there, Stanislavski is a great author, and he wrote a book called The Actor Prepares, and it takes you through these weird scenarios where there's like this omnipotent being is sort of like observing this actor's life in a school where this like professor is like I don't know, it's wild, but one of the things that I interpreted, and I don't even remember if Stanislavski directly said this, but like, you know, like if you are doing theater right to some extent, like when the scene is done, you won't really remember what happened because it wasn't really you doing it. It was a character. Like you'll have to like, what just sort of went down? And I've kind of noticed that as I've been doing, you know, like the listening, actual acting and reacting approach to things, you sort of come off the stage and it's kind of like, whoa.
Yeah. You just like unlocked a memory. One of the shows, it was one of the later shows for Boeing Boeing, we had this moment. It's kind of like, I think like the climax. Everything's like going crazy. People are finding all these crazy things out, and all of the actors are finally on stage. It was a very small cast, 6 people.
Oh, cool. They're finally all there. It's that moment.
Yeah, it's that moment. And if you haven't heard of it, you should look it up because it's crazy. Just like the plot. But basically, like we had this moment where one of our actors, and it's one of those scenes where everyone has like one line and you got to say it like really quick.
Oh, yeah.
One actor broke and she started to laugh. And this had happened at rehearsal, and we're like, this can't happen at like a live show, right?
No.
So she's like trying to keep it in, you know? And then our other actor started to break and he started to laugh. And like I remember looking across at Lydia, we were like staring at each other like, how are we gonna get out of this? Because her and I were like the only one like keeping it together, you know. Yeah. But it created honestly a really beautiful moment. Like even though like we were breaking, it was so like genuine to that moment, and the crowd loved it. Like the crowd was laughing just as hard as everyone on stage was.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know, it was honestly my most favorite moment of the entire run.
I love that. It goes to show, there's been a lot of shows that I've seen where maybe the production quality wasn't extraordinary, like borderline black box theater, you know, black curtain stage actors minimal props. But I've seen the biggest shows, and there's been some that have been good and some that have been bad in all those categories. But what I'm trying to get to is that you can tell when actors are having a good time. You can tell when a cast likes each other.
Yeah.
You can tell when it's like a good experience and people are trying. The audience wants you to succeed. And if they see you break and laugh and it's okay, like if you're not, how much were your tickets? How much were you charging for people to see? Like, were people going in to have a good time, or were they going in to pay to see a very specific thing? I don't think most people have heard of Boeing. I think people were going there to have a good time, and they saw you guys having a good time, and they loved it.
Yeah. It was really a special moment. I think it's like one of those scary things. It wasn't even like I wasn't even worried. Like, I wasn't feeling like, oh my God, how are we going to get out of this?
Yeah.
It was just like, this is pretty funny.
Yeah. And you had like experienced it in rehearsal and stuff. It wasn't new. It was just
it was rough because like every time we got to that scene and we would like rerun it before each show to try and get through it. And it just got worse and worse every time we would try and rerun this damn scene. Like, we would just be laughing.
It's like you were picking a scab, hoping it would make it go away faster.
It just like further cementing like this, the hilarity behind it. And I don't know what it was, but it was a thing.
Yeah. I was coming over to the chat to see who's tuning in with us, and not a lot of action in here today, and I think that's probably because we got the schedule messed up, but we are laying something down.
Yeah. We're doing it. We're getting some stuff in there.
Yeah, we're laying down information. We're having a good time, and this is Casey Bayles.
And this is Daniel.
And this is the Reading Sound. And upcoming guests, my sister Melody is going to be on the show on Monday. She's going to interview me, apparently, from New York. We're going to Zoom her in, so that's interesting. And she's hilarious. And I just look forward to talking to my sister for 2 hours.
Hell yeah. And I've really been looking forward to coming on here and talking with you, because we've been trying to get together just to talk and hang out or whatever for like a year now, it seems like.
Yeah, for way too long. Yeah, we keep running into each other at shows downtown.
Yep.
We're always doing one thing or another, coming off something.
Yeah.
So it was nice to finally find some time where we could do something.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm appreciative, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
I'm super stoked, bro. The word of the day today was not supposed to be intuition. The word of the day, if you can guess it in the chat in the next 30 seconds, you'll win $20. The word of the day today was supposed to be quality. And quality is kind of what I see in just about everything you put out. Not only quality in product, but like you also get reach for someone who appreciates like influence with a quality product. Your songs get streamed, your brand gets bought, and people come to your shows, man. Like you and it all looks good and it feels good and it sounds good. How do you approach quality, my dude? As vague of a question as that is.
It's I think, like I was saying, I really do prefer quality over quantity, when I'm doing something. And if I make the choice, like I'm going to see this thing through, I'm going to actually release this, I'm going to put this out, I want to make sure like my all goes into it. And I just try and keep that mindset like in anything that I'm doing, like whether I'm acting in a play or I'm putting a song out there or or this musical thing or my business or whatever it is. I want it to be the utmost quality. And I think a lot of that, I've been in these industries for 10, 12 years now. So it definitely was not an overnight thing. Like it's not something you can, like the learning process never stops. And that's not something that I think people should shy away from.
It's really inspiring to hear that, man, because like I feel like I've always contained some sort of multitudes when it comes to like artistic expression, But it wasn't probably until like high school I started a rock band, and I still, I went and studied stuff. I worked just kind of more normal jobs. I'd write a song here or there, kind of dabbled. But before long, I was on a. This is something we didn't talk about. I don't know how deep I want to go, but I was living somewhere with a partner of 7+ years.
Okay.
I was working as a teacher.
Okay.
I saw the future. It was all planned, got the dog, leased the car, and it was a nice, comfortable life. But then I started doing Rocky Horror. Then I started singing Don't Dream It, Be It. Then I started realizing, man, I look good in eyeliner and fishnets and yeah, maybe not all the time, I still want to blend in a little bit, but like, I don't know. I just, I felt this like freedom that I hadn't felt. And I'd always been kind of writing songs and having this secret itch in my ear that said, I want to make art, I want to do it. And so hearing that you've been doing it for 10, 12 years, I kind of see it. You have this cool about you while also simultaneously putting out stuff that feels like you can tell if a shirt's stitched together poorly, like, except you're doing music. And if you understand music, you can tell when a song's put together well, and you put together good songs and you just put together stuff that works. So I'm a few years into, throwing an entire secure life away, moving to a new city and turning my second bedroom into a studio where I'm going to make art. And, I'm a few years in and I'm really getting to love it. And I look at someone like you that's been doing it for a while, and I can tell. I can tell.
That's that's the importance of why I say, like, it's so important to keep your glass not overflowing. Like, I love feedback. I love when, and it's just like, I know as an artist sometimes it can, ego gets involved and you don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear the criticism. You don't want to, you have like such a specific vision. But the thing is like, there's knowledge there, and if you can take it in, you're gonna keep growing, And I think there's also something to be said for those of us who can just completely 180 our lives. Like you were saying, you had the cushy relationship, cushy job, the car, you have the dream, right? But like, man, there's something to be said for just flipping it on its head and just making a new life. There's nothing stopping us from doing that. And I'd say I've done that a few times now. Like, my life looked completely different just like 2 years ago. And I guess another thing I could piggyback off of is failure. I love failure. So I said a little bit earlier how I got extremely lucky with my clothing brand, right? I think I'd been doing it for maybe 1.5 years, 2 years, and I got a message from an agent who basically does distribution for like brick and mortar stores. And he was basically like, I want to get your brand into Hot Topic and Spencer's and like all this. And I was like, it's like one of those messages you see and you're like, this is sus. Like, But then he had talked about a brand that he was working with that was actually one of my friends.
Oh.
So I messaged that friend and I was like, is this guy legit? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, dude, like, I'm coming out in Hot Topic in a few weeks. And I was like, holy shit, like, that's crazy. And I ended up signing on with that company, and my brand came out in Spencer's very early on. And that's why I say I got incredibly lucky, right?
Because they're still around. Like, you got incredibly lucky if you got in early on.
Yeah, but what was so weird about it is it felt sort of overnight, especially to people that like kind of knew me, or like they were just like, how did you do this so like quickly, right? And when I really think about it, I don't think it was that lucky.
Well, here's what I think, because I want to toss in my prediction right before you say your grand idea. People say, and I've said it, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. An opportunity came, you were prepared. Were you lucky? You just met opportunity.
And it's not just that. It's also the fact that no one saw like the 2 or 3 other businesses I had started prior to Hauntless that failed. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like those like crash and burn, and it's like it's so easy to get discouraged, and it's so easy to just like be like, this is not for me. I'm just gonna work the 9 to 5, the safe thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's all of those years of experience that led to this moment of, okay, I kind of know what I'm doing a little bit now. I'm going to do this way, and I'm going to establish myself this way and like come at this position. And so it led to that to be able to happen fairly early on for that particular business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But people aren't seeing all of it's like social media. Like people post their best moments, right? But you're not seeing all the like strife and like the hard times and like all of the work that actually went in before it to form you into what you offer now.
Oh, this circles back to I love failure.
Yes.
That's where we started.
That's where I started.
Right on.
That's why I love failure.
Holy crap.
Yeah. That's why, and it's like a lot of people will message me like through my brand page and everything and just basically be like, help me please, you know, or any advice, you know, or whatever. And I just say like, just fail as many times as you can, and as long as you like pick back up, you learn from that and you just keep rolling, you know. And it's just like it's a long process, man. Like there's no getting around the learning part of it, you know. And I think there's something to be said for that, and keeping that glass half full.
Yeah.
Is that the way to say it?
Yeah. Keeping that glass half full. Still just me and you chilling, brother.
That's fine, man.
Yeah.
It'll be there at least, you know?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it definitely will be.
I've actually never been like a stream watcher, but like I went and I watched your episode with Tyler Lockamy, and it was good that I could just go and watch the video.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I've never been like I'm bad with the whole.
That's actually the majority of what I have here right now. I think, you know, we'll get up to 5 or 6 concurrent viewers. Maybe like 9 or 10 total people that clicked on it, and then the videos will sometimes get, you know, like 100 views. So there's, you know, I think the vast majority of people are actually clicking and listening afterwards. And if you're hearing this, thank you for being part of that vast majority. And thanks for hanging out with us on the stream. I feel like today I was a little flustered because the version of me that you're catching is a version that failed to click go on a button to document what we were doing.
And we really did have a very fluent, like natural conversation that I think held a lot of value. And so it's like weird having to circle back and like hit all of these points again. But now I do feel like we're getting to the point where we're hitting some new things that I'm glad that we're talking about.
I feel like this is the first time we've talked about the snafu in an almost positive way, not with us being optimistic, knowing that we'll get back to positivity, but I think we've hit positive again, and I'm feeling in my heart now where there once was a little bit of sadness for that last stream ending. It's now just a newfound appreciation.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming back at it with me, and thanks for coming in the first place. And I'm probably getting way too much from this because I get pretty worried of failure. Do you want to see something I did yesterday?
Yeah, of course.
Here's something kind of fun. This could be like a fun thing to show. And this is an example of me being afraid of failure. Last night, I took a video of myself just like making up a random song on the spot. And I was like, what if I go live and I make up a random song on the spot? And I was like, what if I think I'll just record it. And it was one microphone, and I picked up a mandolin that I hadn't played, and I tuned it really briefly, and I played 3 chords. And this is me being all folky and silly. Making up stuff. Hello, good morning, good night. I got a feeling I just might take a chance on another day. See what comes my way. Yeah, I'll give it to you on the spot. Give you everything I got. I got a feeling I just might be in love again. Be in love again. And this is something I would never really post because I'm afraid of failure. I'm like, I should have, mic'd up the mandolin and actually played a song that I knew instead of just making something up,
And I think it plays back into that theme of the importance of being present. Because we could have been like really discouraged, and like we can embrace those feelings of discouragement, right? And if you live in the present, though, you can like find the meaning in it. You can find like just like the value and the happiness that you can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't know how to exactly articulate what I'm like thinking.
No. I think what you're doing is you're getting like really freaking real with it.
Yeah.
I think you're like...
Well, I've been on this whole like self-improvement journey for like the past 6 months or so. And I'm living for this stuff because I do think there's something to be learned out of pretty much every moment that we're living. And we could have just been like, fuck this. Like, come back a different day.
Yeah, we'll do it a different day, yeah.
But it's just kind of like, hey, we're here. We're dealing with this... what were we calling it? Snafu.
Yeah, snafu.
And it's just like roll with it, and you'll see what you can find.
Yeah, and if you're sticking around, chances are you're finding exactly what we're finding in this moment with us. So what are you finding in your heart? And share it. Share it with me. Leave a comment.
Yeah, and I don't know how you can get on there, and when I pick up a guitar or something, I cannot formulate words it just sounds like na 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 na, and then I'll just kind of like fade into a line, and I'll be like, oh, it kind of sounds like I could say this here.
I do a lot of mumble singing, like when I'm with friends and we're like co-writing a song or something. I'll be like, how do you feel about like ba-da-ba, ba-da-da, or something like that, and or I'll be like, walk the dog up the sky, like I'm just like saying dog and sky and with no reason. So I'll do a lot of that, but I also have had a lot of fun in my life doing just kind of like freestyle flow state, whatever's coming out. But I found that the best way for me to do that is when I have zero inhibitions and I feel like I can speak my mind freely. And the only way I feel like I can do that is if I find my center and I become present and realize I'm healthy, I'm here, it's all gonna be okay.
Yeah, and finding that gratitude in each moment is invaluable, I think.
And I think why I showed that video is because that's something I would consider a failure, because in my mind, a failure that I've learned from, because in that moment I was like, I feel very present and I just want to pick up something right now and document me saying whatever the heck comes out of my brain. And then I get to like the end of and then like I look back at it, or like in the moment I kind of knew that my heart was like 85% there. I was like trying to capture this thing that wasn't quite ready to exist yet. And so I'm like, okay, I'm not going to share that because that was more just for me in that moment. So I wanted to share it because that was an example of like what I would consider something that I would interpret as like a small failure that I've learned from. And I have plans to, record stuff in a way that's going to bring me a lot more joy.
Yeah, I get that. And something I've recently kind of discovered, because I used to like sit down with an idea and I would have a general idea of what I would want to do. And then if it wasn't coming together exactly the way I imagined it, I would get super discouraged, and I would just like, I would bring up all these stress feelings like, man, I don't have it anymore. Like, I should just give up, bro. Like, and what I've come to find that's really helped with that sort of thing is take advantage of those brief moments of motivation or creativity or inspiration, right? but don't force it anymore if it leaves you. And and that's something that I think a lot of people are still struggling with, because you sit down, you have this like great idea and you're making good progress, and then you hit the wall, right? We all hit the wall at some point, and nothing else is coming, and you're trying to force it and like, oh, this is shitty, you know, or whatever. And once I hit that moment, I leave it.
Yeah.
Come back to it later, you know. And it's like, don't try and force yourself, because it's just gonna like bring the stress, you know. And it's just like, take advantage of those beautiful moments of inspiration.
And it's funny because we usually force ourselves because we care so much. We like want to get it done. We want to get it right. We want to get there, and then your ears are shot or something's
the
up.
Flow state doesn't work that way, you know. It's just like, you have those moments and you got to utilize them while you have them, you know.
Yeah, man. Thanks for utilizing this moment.
Hell yeah.
With me. Sick. So what do you have, like anything in the pipeline that's like, oh, you're heading off?
Yeah, I almost couldn't make it today because I have a big convention I'm doing this weekend with the brand. I'm going to Sacramento right after this to do that. Like I said, I'm like full speed ahead on this musical thing. Writing and mainly just most of my musical effort is going towards that right now, because I just have so much inspiration for it for some reason. I know I have like a lot of things going on inside I want to get out, and this message, you know. So I'm not even sure like if I want to get too involved with any other projects because of that, because I want to see this thing through. And it actually started, I started writing these songs for this musical a few years back, and it was a completely different musical that I was writing.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was all like based around my brand. Like all the story was cohesive. I was writing it with my ex-partner actually, and we had like this grandiose story, and I had all these songs I was sitting on, and I recently came back to it and changed everything about it and rewrote a lot of the songs and the story, but kept like the same basic, like the message I knew I wanted to convey, right? And I think it's for where I'm at right now, this is what I want to do and tell. Like, this is the story I want to tell, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's great. And I look forward to hearing more about it. We talked about talking more about it. So
yeah. And business wise, I am looking to start up, I'm like starting a couple new businesses too.
Love it.
Yeah. I won't go too in depth about that. That might have to be like a part 2, but
yeah.
When I can shift my focus to that end, you know, that'll be something to talk
I'm excited for part 2, because part 2, I'll probably only mention the snafu like 1 or 2 times, as opposed to bringing it up as often as possible in a way to mask all my insecurity. You guys should have seen the last one. It was so good. No, you guys are getting a great...
You don't get it. Like, we just, like, it was such a brilliant conversation.
Yeah.
It really was.
It really was.
I'm seeing the value.
It actually makes it even more brilliant, just because now it's actually between us.
Mm-hmm.
And with the intent of it being shared, we had a brilliant conversation. But hey, we're not mentioning the snafu anymore, guys. We're not doing that. Hey, my next guest after my sister coming up, do you know Darian Call?
I don't think so.
A local musician. He's a really cool dude. He's in a band called Just Make Me Cry. They play around town.
Very cool.
He created, I think, a genre name called dweeb pop.
Okay.
So it's in a dweeb pop. So hey, groundbreaking new music from a brand new genre.
How question for you? How do you find these artists?
Going to a lot of shows.
Oh, fair
and
enough.
Just going to a lot of shows and playing as many shows as I can, and looking at like other, like Zach Zeller does podcasts. We were talking about all the people that do podcasts in town. Instead of like, for me, it was like looking at other people doing something in a similar ilk. I consider it like an additive thing. So I'm like looking at what they're doing. I'm seeing the artists they're talking to, and then I'm following them and stuff. So I'm just kind of trying to figure out like what's up. And then it's been really cool because now my feed's populated with like a bunch of stuff going on all the time.
Yeah.
And there's like always an opportunity catch a show, and a lot of these local bands are like opening for touring bands as it goes at like the Dip and stuff.
Yeah.
And so then I'm seeing touring bands and getting their records and stuff.
Yeah, it's funny. I should probably start going to some more shows too. I've been seeing a lot of theater shows, but I haven't. It's so funny because I used to go to like, you know, concerts so much when I was kind of, you know, the prime Lonely Avenue days. I was just going to every show I could, networking as much as I could, just like there all the time. And it's been weird these last few years because I know my friends are disappointed, or like my old friends, because I just don't go to shows. Like I don't really.
You came to one of mine once, bro,
I did,
which was sick.
I did. And that was actually probably my first show back in a long time.
And it was a weird one. It was just like me and Don Potter and all the friends we mustered, just chugging through some old Dead tunes and stuff.
Yeah, and I love that. And I recently saw Knuckle Puck in Sacramento, and then oh my gosh, I was in Las Vegas recently for a big convention, and Green Day just happened to do a pop-up.
I remember when you were posting that you saw.
Dude, like I got into that, and it was funny because like if you know anything about like Green Day, they like to do these little like pop-up shows, and they give you like seconds to prepare, and they sell out like that. Like you literally have to have like multiple phones open and shit. And it sold out immediately, and I thought I didn't get in. Right. And I was so bummed. I was like, I'm in Vegas. I'm like, I'm here, bro, you know? And I just like let it sit there for like 15 minutes. And all of a sudden it like let me buy a ticket.
What?
Yeah, it was crazy. But I think that like re-sparked my love a little bit, because I went to that show. It was fantastic. I met Trey Cool by accident. And he's the drummer, if you know anything about Green Day. But it was an incredible experience, and I've been doing a lot of like solo traveling lately, where I just go and I just do everything just by myself.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I went to that, then I went to Knuckle Puck, and I'm kind of like slowly getting back into shows, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, I kind of do love this, you know? Because I was like, for a lot of years, I was like, I don't go to shows. Like I have no interest in going to shows. I played 1 million. I went to 1 million of them. Like I'm burnt. You know,
I'll let you know if there's like a band I'm like super excited about or something, and then maybe you can.
Yeah, you're the guy. You know what's going on.
I know what's going on, but I brought a friend of mine to see. I brought him to see Just Make Me Cry, my friend Darian, and then Furlough Fridays. But there was a band in the middle that I didn't know, and they were the touring band, and they were called Booked by Mistake. And she was like just like the sweetest friend I have, just like. She likes bluegrass, you know, and I brought her to this metal show, and this band's just going off, and very quickly I just see her like plug her ears. I'm like, I don't have hearing protection for you, and also this band is not your style. And I was like, all right, I'll see you later, and like walked her to her car, and then I went back in and rocked out and stuff. So like, you know, I'm not. There is probably a good pairing, but I think I just like, I don't know. I love good music, but I also love just being at a show. And I love seeing people take the stage and seeing what they embody and what they bring to the table. And then just like, you know, you can always go outside or leave, like you're never held hostage. But I just love kind of seeing what people bring to the table. And I just want to see more and more and more and more.
Right. I think I was starting to get this weird discouragement in my stomach, like as like, you know, things are always rapidly changing in the music industry. And it just hasn't felt like things like pop punk or metal or any of that has been as like popular lately, especially with social media kind of leveling the playing field, so to speak. And then I saw I don't know why I forgot to mention this, but I went and I saw The Story So Far in San Fran.
Shoo, I just listened to one of their records, dude, like the other day. Life changing. But I went and I saw them, I think it was like shortly after I saw Knuckle Puck, and it's very clear that there's still a lot of people that are like diehard, love this, like, because that was the craziest show I've been to in a long time. It's like one of those shows where it's like you can't even hear him singing, like the crowd is so loud. Wow. That it's like such like a magical experience, like being a part of something like that. You just can't even hear him, like it's so loud, and people are so like emotional over this, and I'm like,
how do you even create this vibe? You know, like, how do you create like such a strong connection with people that this is what's happening, you know? Yeah.
I'm glad you brought them up because, yeah, literally life-changing.
Under Soil and Dirt, dude. If you haven't heard that record yet.
That was probably the one.
Yeah.
It's probably the one.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, I used to spin it when I was, younger, but I kind of recently got back into it, and I was just like, God, dude, like all of their records are just.
I'll have to figure out which one I listened to and let you know, and then listen to that one if that wasn't the one, or just listen to it again. I'm just glad you mentioned it because that's a cool band, and that's a very cool experience. And I've noticed that even just doing like, because there's so much I don't know. I'm usually the guy when people say, do you know that band? Or have you seen that movie? Or, I've seen all the stuff I've seen and heard all the stuff I've heard, but barely scratched the surface. But I also do agree that I have a wide array of music I listen to. I saw like an Icelandic death metal band when I was over there for 2 weeks in Reykjavik, and apparently they do death metal the best over there in Iceland. It certainly felt that way because they came out just like wearing all white, drenched in fake blood with like a wall of speakers behind them, and it was just insane. And I love like the folkiest, sweetest, hippy dippy music of all time too, man. And good old country radio never steers me wrong. And you name it. So I think that's kind of a cool trait that we share, being able to love various genres of music and different styles of things.
There's like this weird phenomena I kind of want to talk about really quick. Is like, I don't know if you had this experience, but growing up, it seemed like everyone was kind of on board with like the music everyone was listening to at the time, right? But like the most common thing I would hear people say is, "Oh, I listen to everything except for rap and country." Do you remember that? Like, did you ever experience that?
I experienced that direct quote.
Yeah,
word
like I've
for
heard
word.
that so many times, and I still hear that sometimes. And like now I'm thinking back, like I even kind of bought into that too. Like I would say that to people. I'd be like, "Oh, I love everything but rap and country."
Yeah.
And like, you know what? Like these last few years, like almost the only thing I was listening to was rap and country.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It was cool to not like the things that were popular and on the radio, but simultaneously what you were missing out on were all those frequencies that were becoming popularized that are just appealing to the human ear, that are now being incorporated in ways that do have like a great sense of uniqueness to them. I think good production's good production, and then a lot of those old country and rap and pop songs just had a really good production, and folks would steer away from it, and now folks are kind of recognizing stuff that just makes your ears feel good and your heart feel. It taps you into a new emotion right away.
Yeah,
that's what a good song does.
Yeah, and I will like I'll say like I love the old country specifically, like anything Johnny Cash, Dolly Parton, like any of that old stuff. I
gotta show you my Johnny Cash record.
Oh, dude, please do. I love Johnny Cash.
I have an old Carousel Ballroom record. It was like a recorded by the people that by the guy Stanley Owsley, who like recorded the Grateful Dead in San Francisco. And Johnny Cash came through on his Folsom Prison Blues tour, which is iconic, and he stopped in San Francisco and played a set, and it was all recorded and captured, and it's been like meticulously mastered and pressed, and it has all these imperfections, but it's such good Cash.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so that was just like a funny thing. I like reflecting back on that. I'm just like, man, everyone was just like love to hate to kind of like fit in with one another,
we and people still do it, and I'm trying to break down the barriers of hatred. I just tend to not even recognize them. Somebody told me if you walk down the street and you're looking for someone to hurt you and piss you off, like if you look hard enough, you'll find that person. They're out there. They'll take your money from you. Like they'll hurt you. But if you're like looking for like love and happiness and uplifting stuff, there's also someone out there who's waiting to make your day in the world a better place.
I think that's true for most things, and there's a lot of people that are still living in this like, it's really strange if you start to acknowledge it too. If you start to like realize like when you talk to someone, you can tell very quickly like they have a very negative outlook because everything they've said is like the negative side, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've had roommates where I've come home and I've been so excited about something that happened, or or I'm working on, and then they'll tell me the one thing that's like the downside, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because like we're manifestors, and it's just like if you're looking for the negatives, you're gonna get negatives, like no matter what way you go. It's crazy. But if you're looking for the good, you're gonna get the good.
Dude, I love that we're doing this together, because that's the kind of conversation that I feel like is gold. Mm-hmm. That's a golden moment. You can very easily tell what the vibe is, mm-hmm. like if you're looking for it. Mm-hmm. And we both kind of came in here and we've gone that we all mentioned the we had the snafu. We've done this, but we're still able to bring it back to manifestors. This whole thing, bro. Mm-hmm. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course. And I had a feeling. I was like, yes, there was like the snafu, but I feel like that could bring something else that's important to look at. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah, dude, you just can't like give in to those feelings, because that's all it is. It's just thoughts and feelings, and that kind of directs what way you're going, right? But if you can like outsider perspective, if you can look at yourself from an outsider perspective and like look at it from a different way, bro, like it's a game changer, Not to get too deep, but
yeah, that one I'm gonna be like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come back to that one.
A little freaky, I know.
Yeah. Sick, dude. Well, I want to make sure I'm not keeping you too long, because I know you're heading off to Sacramento.
Yeah.
Soon, but if I still got you for a little bit longer, that's cool. That's cool too.
Yep. I'm just I'm rolling with it, man.
Cool, man. Me too. I'm literally rolling. Sorry, I got the swivel chair, and
I'm jealous.
Yeah, this is the part where it's necessary for there to be a video component, because I am going to give you pure visuals here now. So if you're just tuning in with your ears, look back at the screen. Pure visuals. Goodness gracious. I think it would be cool. Imagine if like Reading had a late night talk show, like in one of these buildings on Market Street, like, mm-hmm. and they just had like a studio, and like a studio audience would line up every night, and you'd come in and there was just like a stupid person, like a stupid awesome person like me, just sitting in a chair talking to the next artist coming in. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I've kind of thought of this as like a borderline late night talk show. But then I'm like, I need a band. We need segments.
You know what's funny? You're bringing this up. I saw the craziest movie last night, like in theaters. I had no idea this movie was in theaters.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, my friends were just like, let's go see this tonight. And I was like, what is this? And it was called Late Night with the Devil. And it was literally about like a talk show, kind of like you're saying.
Yeah.
And it's about like he brings on this girl that's like possessed. And like how it goes horribly wrong.
Yeah.
Like obviously.
Yeah.
And like I won't like get too much into it, but like it was a very unique movie. And like I have respect for it just because of the fact it was so different and unique. And like they went for it, they made a choice and they stuck to it, buddy. You know what I mean? Like, and I just had no idea it was even out. And I like just like, what is this? You know what I mean?
You gotta talk to Tyler Lockamy about this. That's the guy I immediately think about anytime I start talking movies.
Weird movies specifically.
Yeah. He recommended a couple to me. If you want a couple more, that one's in theaters. 2, you can stream Butt Boy. Cool film. They found a concept and they went with it. Mm-hmm. Boy, did they go with it. And and the Greasy Strangler. It's exactly what it sounds like.
Oh, he's talked to me about that one. I was telling him we got to have like a movie night that we just the weird movies, like show them to me.
Yeah.
I can appreciate unique cinema. You know what I mean?
Me too. And I feel like I appreciate cinema even more when I'm with Tyler, because we can talk about cinema. Just like I feel like I would appreciate music even more. Like if you and I sat down and like listen to like a record or something, I'd feel like I'm gonna love music extra much today because I'm in the room with someone who gets it. Mm-hmm. And I was also talking to my therapist today about like, she's like, how important do you think being around other people is to you? And I'm like, I like my solitude, but there was a line in The Elephant Man where John Merrick says, I didn't bother to think these until I talked to people. I didn't bother to think these things because there was no one there to bother to think them for. And these, I think what makes this so special, us being in the same rooms, these thoughts that we're finding together just don't exist if we're not here in the first place.
Yeah. No, that'll freak me out if I think about it.
Yeah. I think about it all the time.
Yeah, wait, okay, if we're going to get like freaky really quick.
I'm afraid I'm going to get addicted to like what can happen when you're in the room with another person, because like I'm just constantly like anticipating the next time I get to do something like this.
Yeah, and that brings me on to kind of a weird point, because I mentioned how I've been on like a self-improvement journey for like the past 6 months.
Yeah, like solo trips. Yeah.
Well, solo trips, not just that, but like a complete like perception change. I've spent a lot of time alone, which has been interesting, because I've always kind of been the type that like will hop from like relationship to relationship, and I've struggled being alone. This is the first time I've almost embraced it, and I've sat in my suffering, and it's been really eye-opening, like truly sitting with these feelings, embracing them, acknowledging all these feelings as they come up. It'll teach you a lot about yourself. But it's not just that. Like I've also I'm on a whole like fitness thing now. I've lost a ton of weight, and I'm doing that, and I'm also trying to cut a lot of what I would consider to be toxic habits out of my life, whether that means even ending some relationships that aren't right, and so I've been on this whole thing. And it's once you can like get to a point where you're really feeling like outsider perspective again, if you can really like think of the person you can become, like if you just embrace the scary, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that actually wasn't the freaky thought I was going to lead into. I just have a lot of moments where I'll be like in the shower, for example, and I'll like look at my hands, and I'll be like, I exist, and it freaks me the fuck out, bro.
Yeah, I have these moments. And a weird thing that happens to me, and this happens occasionally, but usually it's like I'm like really tired, or it'll be like in the middle of the night. I'm like in like a dream state, or like some sort of fugue state or something. And like, I guess I've got it with the hands before, but for me it's the classic, you look in the mirror.
Really?
And like I'll see myself, and sometimes I'm like, who is that? Like if I think I look beautiful in my mind, but like my eyes are beet red because it's the middle of the night or something. Like, I don't know. There's times where I look at myself and I'm like, is that really me? Is that really me? Sometimes I feel like I have like a disconnect. Sometimes I feel like my thoughts are somewhere, and then I look at the person in the mirror and I'm like, oh, that is the vessel. That is my body. But like my thoughts are sort of elsewhere. Do you ever have that?
Absolutely. And I think you're referring to more of like your higher self. Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and I'm still trying to figure out, what I have faith in or believe in, or what it all means, all the questions that are age old.
Yeah.
But, man,
age old questions.
Yeah. I mean, but damn, sometimes I'll literally be driving and I'll think about it, and I'll be like, I'm conscious, I exist. That's fucking weird. But not just that, I'll have like a full blown like panic attack over it, dude. Like, and not to get like too into that.
No, and I try and stop myself from being like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, totally, I understand. That's my initial thing I want to say, because I've had panic attacks. Like I've experienced like what the heck, or why, or sometimes the complete opposite, and not like a question, just like the ultimate fact, like this is going on and this is how I feel about it, and it's a lot. I've experienced like a lot of different stuff. So what I wanted to do was to say, no, not necessarily too deep, but it's sometimes it's hard to respond, because I don't want to pretend like I understand what you're feeling. But I also want to acknowledge that I do have some sort of baseline for empathy and understanding. Yeah.
Well, we're all having our own experience. We're all having our own conscious experience, And yeah, I don't know. It's pretty weird. It's pretty wacky, buddy.
It is. It is, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's take a quick little peek over yonder. And Tyler dropped in for a sec, said, "Yo, I'm in rehearsal. Just wanted to say hi."
Oh gosh.
And he said, "Butt Boy is great." So he tuned in right when we were talking about him. How weird is that?
That is weird. And we had a whole conversation about Tyler in the last podcast we attempted to do.
Yeah, basically every single item or thing or person or name we've mentioned, not all of them, not all the new stuff, and how can you tell, but we dove into like just about every person a little bit more.
Yeah. And I'm like so appreciative because it's going to show like how connected everyone really kind of is out here. And I think like tracing back to a conversation we had earlier a little bit about the advantage of being in a city that is what's the word? It's constantly modernizing and it's
developing.
Yeah, it's developing.
Emerging.
Yeah. And this city's changing a lot pretty fast. And a lot of new people are coming in, a lot of creative people. And I think there's this really cool advantage that we have being in a city this size because it's giving us easier opportunities to grow and to make some awesome connections. Whereas I feel like it would be a lot harder in somewhere else, like let's say LA, where everyone wants to go and, whatever. But see, if you're here first, you learn all of these amazing things. You have all these amazing opportunities right here at your fingertips. And you can take that and you can run with it anywhere you want to go. And now you have like this fat resume of amazing things that you offer. And like people can't scoff at that. It's like, and you go somewhere like LA and like now you can actually say like, oh, I've done this and I've done that. I've done this. And I feel like it just opens the door a little bit easier.
Yeah. I think you're exactly right. I've had so much opportunity, man, and I am so grateful for it. Like I know how to like patch LED lighting systems into a DMX controller and create like lighting presets for stage productions and rock and roll shows. The only reason I learned that is because there was a gap that needed to be filled here, and I was technologically savvy and said, yeah, sign me up. I'll learn how to run equipment like this. And I've done that with a lot of different facets of the arts industry, just like here, be it sound or lighting or production or just overall facilitating or consulting or being the performer. And there's a lot of room to grow in all those fields that I've dabbled in, but the resume, not even as a resume, just for my personal just growth. I'm like, I feel like, how is anyone ever supposed to run a business if they don't understand how every facet of the business operates? Because then if you don't, then you'd be unqualified to hire people to do those facets. Or like, I don't know. Obviously there's moments where we collaborate and we recognize our weaknesses like we talked about and find people who can do that. But there's also something to be said about working those jobs that you're weak in to at least have an understanding.
Yeah.
I'm trying to have a really good understanding about like the big picture. That way, when I focus on a minute detail, I can sort of, if I am in charge of delegating in a project, I can understand and empathize with the people doing these jobs.
Yeah, and that's the importance in not shying away from the knowledge and the hard work and the, coming back to that, where it's just like, it's not overnight, dude. Like you have 10 years of experience behind you to lead up to these things that just start happening,
Yeah, like when I was like, before I knew that you had that other project, that other band that you played in for 10 years before you started releasing stuff under Well Played, I just heard these songs and I was like, who is this guy? Why do these songs like slap so hard? Why is this guy getting like a bunch of streams? And I was like, I got to get to know him better. And then of course, from getting to know you better, I'm like, oh, this isn't just something new that you just like tossed out of thin air. You're a complex human that learned the skills required to create that.
And I wish I could say there's like a shortcut, but there just isn't. There just isn't a shortcut. And I feel like I still have so much I need to learn. Like I feel like I know nothing. Honestly, I really do. Because even getting in a room, with my buddy Sam Borges. We started the film guild, right?
Oh yeah.
I talked to that dude for like 2 minutes, and his perception is completely different than mine. And when he says something, I'm just like, holy shit. Like, you know what I mean? I'm just like,
Yeah.
he flips everything I ever thought like on its head like that quick. And I'm just like, wow, you know? And I always like to say, like, I love being the guy that knows the least in the room. Like, I love that.
Yeah.
Like, when I'm surrounded by people like that, dude, like, I'm so grateful. I'm just like, holy shit, dude. Like,
That's such a sick characteristic to have, and so, just like something to say. I kind of felt that when I was like in Boston recording with Jacob and the other guys and our producer there.
Mm-hmm.
I was like just looking at all these musicians, and I was like, man, these guys are cool, and I was just loving it. I'm like, I am learning so much right now, and just absorbed all that studio time, acting with actors that are better than you, which I feel like I've only ever acted with actors that are better than me, and it's so cool. Like Tyler Lockamy again, doing the Elephant Man with him.
well, that's the cool thing though about acting, and I don't think it's even necessarily that like someone might be better than you. It's just that they come from a different place and they've had their own complex experiences to lead them to that moment with you.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. Yeah,
And it's not even just that. It's like that person is also learning from you.
yeah.
I know, like, if you and I did a scene together, I would be learning a lot because I can see how talented you are, in all these scenes that you do and stuff, or all
thanks.
these shows that I've seen you in.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's a really cool,
Dude, I feel like I would learn so much from you too. I feel like we gotta like next time we do have you on the stream, we should prep some bits and have like a couple scripts and just like cold read a scene together.
yeah, and I'll have to try that method you were telling me about, where you just you learn the lines, but you don't put any like character to it.
Yeah, what if we both
Yeah.
did that? I heard that the only acting anyone ever has to do in a play is the person who delivers the very first line, because that person has to set the tone.
They set the
so
tone.
it's like,
yeah.
all right, we're acting, and now you're in, and then everything else is a direct result of the action that came before it.
Yeah, and I think there's like that's like a whole conversation in and of itself, because like you've had those rehearsals, I'm sure, where it's like the vibe is not there, right? Like it's just frustrating, but you're like trying to force it to work, right? And it's interesting to think about how this like dominoed into this vibe, right? Because sometimes it's like I was feeling like that a few times during this last show I just did. Like there would be these rehearsals where the energy's so low or whatever, and I think about the first time I was on stage for that rehearsal, I was like, I gave like a really lackluster performance. Like I was not present with it. I was just like saying my line.
Yeah.
And I contributed to how the other person responded to me.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's affecting everything.
The amount of rehearsals where I would have huge discoveries in like a scene with Tyler or a scene with Amanda Casaria or a scene with, you name any other just powerhouse actor in that show. There'd be scenes where those were constantly evolving, and then I'd go to do another like a quick filler scene with someone who was newer, and let me tell you, all the new people in that show, they definitely rose to the occasion and improved, but you could tell where it was, like I would try so hard to like feed them something new, but because they weren't listening, they were just giving the same thing every day.
Yeah.
And they were just overthinking it so much, and they just like weren't present with me. And all they had to do was just slow down and listen and take in what I was giving them. And every day it was like, nope, they're just kind of they just kind of grab you over here and they take you over there, and it served its purpose. And the emotion was certainly conveyed. It's just a bummer that rarely did we get to just truly be on stage together. There was moments where I'm looking at Tyler and I don't see Tyler, he's looking at me, he doesn't see me, and we get off stage and it's like, then you can see you're talking to your buddy, but anyway, just rambling now.
Well, no. I mean, I love that and then that also can speak on someone's professionalism, especially because there's some actors that I've met out here that are just like they could have gotten like the worst performance handed to them, like, you know, or like maybe there's a lot of new actors, so they just don't give you much to work with.
Yeah.
And there are actors that can they just take it for what it is, and then they deliver like a super consistent quality performance.
You're right.
And those are the people I think we could take some notes from too, you know?
Yeah, you're so right. I went to a show recently, and I won't say which one, but I watched it, and of the number of actors that were in the show, a handful of them, I was like, there was two really good ones, and they kept me very, very, very interested the whole time. And I talked to one of them afterwards, and I said thank you, because what happened in that theater with like a small ensemble cast is like you talked about that moment where everybody's on stage, but before that moment where you have all of Boeing on stage at the same time and things are going down, I bet like every one of those characters had like a brief interaction with each other. Like there's a lot of permutations. They just kind of constantly put new actors in the room with each other, and then these new sort of dynamics flourish. And there was just two really solid actors that brought life out of people that otherwise would have felt lifeless. They made it work when somebody else that felt like was being disingenuous, they were able to take that and turn it into something real.
Absolutely. How
How much power does one actor or actress have to have if they can take a bad performance and make it work? That blows me away. And I've seen it recently.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, it's incredible.
It just shows you, imagine if everyone up there was a powerhouse. Right?
Yeah. But you know, like it's just a part of that journey, the constant flow of knowledge and growth, right?
Yeah, you can't necessarily look at it like you can always think about all the ways things could have been better, and critics can point it out all day, but to find the beauty that's existing within the stage that you're seeing, that's why I like going to a lot of shows. You know, I've seen shows with terrible mixes, and I've had the best time of my life.
Yeah.
And it was just a mindset thing. And,
yeah, it's true.
And finding the good in it, glass half full, man.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're gonna see where it goes from here, right?
We certainly will.
Yes, sir.
Well, shoot, man. Hey, any final thoughts before we wrap things up? Thanks for giving it snafu. Thanks for giving it a second go after the snafu, and I'd love to have you on again in any capacity, or even just hang out, man. So.
Yeah, sounds good, dude. Invite me to some shows.
Heck yeah.
I'll start coming out to the shows here more. I keep traveling all over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll catch some shows, and
I'd love to start playing some like open mics too, just like acoustic.
Shoot. Okay. Yeah. I know a couple around town.
Cool.
Yeah. So that'd be fun. I'd love to do that. Open mic. Cool, man.
Cool.
All right, everybody. This has been the Reading Sound. Thanks for tuning in. Casey Bayles.